Welcome to Chapter 5 of George Orwell's 1984. I'm David Crayden, and I've been reading this fantastic novel to you over the past few days. So, as we read in Chapter 4, we've discovered what Winston's job really entails. Winston is a censor within the Ministry of Truth. And as we learned very quickly in 1984, nothing is exactly as it seems to be. The Ministry of Truth might more accurately be described as a Ministry of Lies. And it's interesting that Winston's job as a censor is not called a censor or a redactor. He's somebody who rectifies texts, all kinds of texts. Sometimes it's a very simple thing of removing a date. Other times it's a very complicated thing of inventing an entire life story of someone who died in service of the state, especially if this person actually died because they had fallen in disfavor with the state. So it's a fascinating chapter because we understand exactly what it is to work in a state that is constantly churning out intentional disinformation. Now, a lot of people say, well, why didn't George Orwell anticipate the internet? Obviously, it's a good question, but who did? I can't think of a single person who anticipated the internet. Orwell did accurately and correctly understand that television was going to be the dominant medium for the next 40 years. And television, of course, still is a dominant medium. But now it's been joined, of course, by the personal computer and the laptop, and now the iPhone as a means of communication and a means of disinformation and a means of propaganda, of constantly churning out propaganda. And this is really what we learn in Chapter 4, is that this is the entire raison d'etre of the state in terms of communication, reinventing the past in order to set it right with the dictates and the current talking points. See, Orwell also got this correct. He doesn't call them talking points, but what he's describing in detail are modern day talking points, the way political parties and just about every political leader, democratic or non-democratic, uses a series of talking points to justify their policy positions and to explain why they're doing what they're doing in order to avoid embarrassing questions from the media. They just keep repeating the same line over and over. And it's no different than the maxim of Nazi Germany, said both by Hitler and by Goebbels, propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels, that if you repeat the big lie often enough, it becomes a truth in the ears of those who hear it. And that is exactly how modern communications works in the minds and the mouths of modern political leaders, whether they call themselves democratic or not. So no, Orwell didn't imagine the internet. Nobody did. It was a truly revolutionary product that has totally transformed the way we gather, the way we disseminate, and the way we understand media today. From pornography, which has become a staple of the internet, to the daily news. Everything now is going through the prism of the internet. And Orwell couldn't have seen that in 1948 when he wrote this book. But he understood the principle, and the principle remains the same. It just becomes that much more frightening when you realize that governments like that of Justin Trudeau are trying to control the internet because they know that's the dominant communications tool of our age. So as I say every time I start a chapter, 1984 is incredibly prescient and prophetic, but it's also incredibly relevant. It is describing the age we live in. Anyway, I'm going to stop there, and we're going to get on with the novel. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. Hi, this is David Krayden from Krayden's Right and Stand on Guard. Join the resistance. Resolve to resist. Become a member of this station. I've been practicing journalism in one form or another for over 30 years. I've worked in print, radio, and television for a lot of prestigious publications and media outlets. I was an Armed Forces Public Affairs officer. I worked in Parliament Hill. I know how Ottawa works, and I know how corrupt federal government can be. But you can play a part in opposing Justin Trudeau's government and Justin Trudeau's plans for Canada. You can become a part of the Krayden's Right resistance. Now, I urge you today, please support this station in any way you can. Ring that bell, subscribe, because that ensures you're at least going to continue to be able to watch these episodes. You'll beat the algorithm. But more importantly, I need your financial support. I hate to ask, but that's what I'm doing. I made a decision to pursue independent media because I believed it was the best possible route for me to take as a journalist and as a concerned citizen of Canada. So you can become a part of that. And at only $5, you can become a part of that on YouTube, on Substack, and with Buy Me a Coffee, a one-time donation. But I need your support. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. If you've already done that, if you're already supporting the station, thank you. But if you haven't, make that decision today. So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need to resolve to resist.